Hello, everyone. My name is Akal, and I am a somatic therapist, personal trainer. I do people's astrology, etc. Uh, and also, I like to think I'm prophetic. I can see into the future. That's not true. But the one thing I will say is I did a previous video on the Aquarian age, and um, some interesting questions actually came to me from that video. So I want to kind of like go into it a little bit more, just because uh, this is an entirely unique period in obviously in human history, and for many, many, many different reasons. A lot of it has to do with technology and the quickening of technology, and how. And there's a lot of questions as to how does this technology affect the human being? Like, we don't even really know. 3G, 4G, 5G, different Wi-Fi signals, as well as just the engagement with like screens like all the time. So what I want to cover in this video is your protection. How do you protect yourself from, I guess, too many signals coming in? Because that's what's happening. There's far too many signals coming in, and it becomes very, very difficult to use discernment in a lot of ways. And these signals, they could be in the form of news or information. They also could be, like I said, they could be in the form of just these satellites and Wi-Fi and all this kind of thing. Bottom line, our nervous systems, and hence our immune systems, our endocrine systems, et cetera, because everything is intertwined, are being burdened tremendously. So there's a concept, it's probably a concept of many different systems, but I'm going to speak of it as if it's somehow part of Kundalini Yoga, but I'm sure obviously it's part of Christianity as well, and several other, well, it's part of the human experience, frankly. And that has to do with this halo. Women happen to have two. There's one around from nipple to nipple as well. But men, we have one halo, and that halo is called the arc line. Now, that arc line, I like to think of it as it's a bit like a filtration system. And I'm not sure it's all crooked. So what do I mean by filtration system? Because this arc line actually interacts with the greater field that is around you. So there's a reason we have a filter. Because if we were sensitive to everything coming in, it would be absolutely overwhelming. And so hence we have this halo that filters in content. This is content that's, well, this filter, like I said, ultimately is there to protect us. And this protection, like I said, is absolutely essential, and we have to keep this arc line relatively strong. This arc line, as I perceive it, is also very connected to the vagus nerve in the body. And you're probably saying, like, well, how is this very physical nerve connected to our halo around the head? Well, again, what we're talking about is how we cognitively process our reality, our existence. And how do I explain this? So the vagus nerve is essentially the dominant parasympathetic nerve. It's connected to the other cranial nerves, and it also is connected to pretty much all the major organs in the body. And it's responsible in a lot of ways for the relaxation of those organs. And here's the other thing. It's about inflammation. So the vagus nerve is very connected. Again, if you're functioning in a parasympathetic kind of way or a calmer way, you have less inflammation. So I don't know if any of you guys have ever noticed, like if you're going to get a cold or, influenza or, some sort of like sinus infection, you may notice heat happening. And that's part of the sort of the beginnings of these diseases. And as the beginning of these diseases, like I said, you feel this heat, this inflammation, this redness, this hot. And what it is it's part of how resources of the body are pulled to an area to bring about healing. Now, at this point in time, like I said, we're being absolutely inundated, overwhelmed by all these different signals. So it's causing our nervous systems to be very, very scattered. Very scattered. And this goes beyond, again, just beyond your everyday interaction. I mean, you can look at the anxiety rates, depression, all these different, I guess, metrics or measures as to overall wellness in our culture. I mean, you can look at the psychology book used to be like this thick, was the diagnosis, the Journal of Diagnoses, the DSM something something. I can't remember what it's called. Either way, it used to be very thin back in the 1990s. Now it's big. It's very big, and they have all these new diseases. And you could say, yeah, this is probably related to the pharmaceutical industry, etc. But as I perceive it, we're going to get, as we go forward, we're going to have many, many different, I guess, novel, we'll call them viruses, diseases, things that are going to, I guess, be rather jarring for humanity. We have not evolved to deal with all this stimulation. There's the other factor. There appears to be that the Earth's magnetic field is changing, that we're going through a grand solar minimum we've entered into. So now we're talking about celestial events as well. We have the sun and the cosmos, and all these things are impacting us. Our nervous systems, take my word for it, completely overwhelmed. So this is what I suggest you do. I'm sure many of you are not questioning how overwhelmed our nervous systems are at this point. It's obvious. So my suggestion, in order to strengthen that arc line, that filter, which is essentially, it's here to show you the content you can handle. If your arc line was porous, too much content would come in, and it would cause all sorts of internal chaos, inflammation, and again, the inflammation would end up leading to actual physical disease states, but it would come in through the arc line first as, content, as information, as whatever it is. So our fields, our auras need to be strong, and the arc line is the ego's, the personality's connection to that field, right? So again, it's a bit like a dam. So if you lift the dam, more water goes through. If you lower the dam, it blocks water. So again, we want to strengthen that dam. And one of the ways we do that is by bringing awareness to that point. So I'm going to teach you a meditation, well, what I consider kind of a progression. You can do this in the order in which I'm giving it to you or not, but I really highly suggest doing it in this particular order. First off is we have to activate the vagus nerve or the parasympathetic nervous system. And one of the ways we can do that, well, there's several ways. Really what we're talking about is saturating with oxygen. And because the secret to meditation isn't people say, all you have to do is, follow your breath, follow your breath. Nah, not really. What you have to do is, it's about the space in between the breath. It's about the stillness that occurs in between the inhale and the exhale. So we need to reduce the anxiety, the friction that many of us might feel in our solar plexus, in our minds, again, because these two places are very connected, very coordinated. So if we have activity here, we have activity here. If we have activity here, we have activity there, right? So if you're spinning on something mentally, your diaphragm is probably going crazy as well. Now, in order to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, what you can do is, like I said, saturate with oxygen. So I'm going to give you 3 different ways of doing this. One is breath of fire, which is my preference is do breath of fire because I prefer breathing through my nose, generally speaking. But that is done 2 fingers below your navel. So basically, I'll go ahead and walk you through this. So you're going to inhale a deep breath. Draw your awareness down to that space below your navel. You want to exhale completely. Then inhale a half breath. And once you have that half breath in, you want to begin to pump the belt line in and out. So when I pull my belt line in, my navel point in, air will go out. When I relax, air comes in. So it's, I don't know if you can see this. Sorry about showing you some flesh. The bottom line is you keep pumping the navel point in and out, in and out, in and out, 2 to 3 minutes. You will saturate with oxygen. And then what you want to do after 2 minutes is simply stop breathing. Again, 2 to 3 minutes. But you want to simply stop breathing. That's it. So that's technique 1. Technique 2, basically the same thing except using the mouth. Again, excuse me, about 2 minutes is all you're going to need on that one, because if you're going through the mouth, you're going to really saturate with a lot of oxygen, because we can naturally pull in more oxygen that way. Technique 3, and this is I owe this to Will Hoff, I believe this is the gentleman's name. He's the Iceman. Now, Will Hoff teaches this 30 breath sequence of inhaling, long, deep inhale through the mouth, and then exhaling, just letting the air fall out. 30 times, 30 of those breaths. And that is the third technique. But in all 3 instances, the same thing is happening. At the end, once you reach your time limit or the breath count, you're simply letting go. Don't try to inhale. Don't try to exhale. Just be present. And you're going to be in that stillness. And this is an altered state. This is a different reality all of a sudden. Now, the other thing, again, is this cools your body. It cools your organs. It cools everything. It really, like I said, it activates that vagus nerve. It's incredibly important. So there's a lot of other things you can do. Forward folds, different exercises, down dog, all the, different things. I'm not going to go into it in this video, but there's one last technique I want to teach you, which is specifically for the arc line. Now, this technique I got from this particular book. And that is Yogi Bhajan's book called The Mind. Now, I'm going to walk you step by step through this. So first off, you're going to have your eyes, or the dristi, the eye position, which is the dristi, is going to be focused, rolling the eyes slightly upward. It's focusing at the brow point, not on the physical brow point, but inside the head. So think about right above the palate of the mouth. And what I suggest is you relax anything you can feel in that space, because this is going to help the pathway of the vagus nerve. If you have any sort of impingements, it's going to create irritation. So we want to relax like I said, the roof of the mouth all the way back to the soft palate. And the other thing here is, now we have the eyes that are rolled up, so dristi 1, 2, the mudra, all the fingertips touching, placing the elbows at the side, holding them out. So this is called lotus mudra. Nice upright posture, chin tucked. And I suggest rooting here. So what I mean by rooting is your sit bones, perineum, you want to press those down into the floor. This allows the spine to pull upright and tall. And again, you're in lotus mudra, eyes are rolled up, focused on the brow point above the upper palate. Now, your jaw, you want to press it slightly forward so that your lower teeth can line up equally with the upper teeth. So typically your upper teeth overlap the lower teeth. What we want to do here is we want to press the jaw forward so that the lower teeth, and again, this is also opens up nerve pathways, but you want to press that jaw forward so that the lower teeth are even with your upper teeth. And then, let's see what else. We got that. Oh yeah, the breath pattern. So the breath pattern here is you're going to inhale through the nose. Again, I suggest drawing your awareness down towards your navel point. And then what you're going to do is you're going to exhale. And as you exhale, you're going to pull what's called Mula Bandha. That's M-U-L-A, Bandha. I don't remember how to spell Bandha, my bad. But Mula Bandha, or root lock. Root lock is another term. You can find it on Google. once you pull root lock, you're contracting the anus, the perineum, contracting upward on the testicles. Well, if you're a woman, then you're going to contract inward. Pretty much anything around the genitals is fine. I'll just call it that. So anus, perineum, genitals, and then finally pulling in the belt line. And that is mula bandha or root lock. Now you're going to retain the breath out. This is the hard part for a lot of people, and this is why I had you guys saturate with oxygen first. You're going to hold the breath out for 4 sa, ta, na, ma. So 4 of those. So S-A, T-A, N-A, M-A, right? 4 times. Sa, ta, na, ma, sa, ta, na, ma, sa, ta, na, ma, sa, ta, na, ma. 16 counts. And again, the breath is held out. Now, holding the breath out does what? It creates a parasympathetic bias. So it helps shift the nervous system towards the parasympathetic branch. So let me walk you through it one more time. So you're not going to be able to see everything I'm doing. So once again, nice upright posture, rooting, pushing down into the floor, spine straight, chin slightly tucked, eyes rolled up towards the third eye point inside the head. Again, lotus mudra, all 4 fingers touching. Inhale. Follow the pathway there down towards the navel. Exhale, pulling root lock. Chin slightly forward. Again, so that it's even with your upper teeth, lower teeth even with the upper teeth. Mentally reciting 4 satanamas. And that's the exercise. Now, to finish the exercise, very simple. You want to do that, by the way, my suggestion is to start out doing this exercise for 3 to 11 minutes. More is better on this one. So you can go up to 31 minutes. But what this will do is this will strengthen that arc line. It will strengthen your filtration system. And it will reduce inflammation. And it will settle your mind, your diaphragm, and you will be centered, which is so incredibly important. If you don't have objectivity at this point in our human history, you're a goner. I mean that. I don't mean like you're dead, maybe, but you're gone. Like the ego is going to be all over the place. You will have no center. You will have no objectivity, and you will not be able to access neutrality. So, and if you're in that particular space, everything will jerk you around. Every emotion, every thought is going to jerk your energy around, and you will be incredibly exhausted. So, again, to finish that exercise, I got on these little tangents. You want to inhale, retain the breath briefly. Exhale, retain the breath out briefly. So think about 10 seconds, each one of those retentions. Inhale, exhale, and then relax. So with all that said, hopefully you enjoyed this video and hopefully you find this useful. The age of Aquarius is a huge topic for me at this point. I'm really, if I'm looking at the world around me right now, I'm seeing, again, prophetic people like Yogi Bhajan or the Dalai Lama, etc. have all talked about this time, this period, and the changes and the turmoil and the stresses that would be placed on basically on human existence. And we are at that point. So we need to do everything we can to stay centered, stay cool, and once again, stay disciplined and love everyone, love yourself, etc. Blah, 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 blah. Enough of the platitudes. Thank you much.